All right, so it's kind of a crazy day today. It's a Thursday, and so I'm not in the clinic on Thursdays, but I've got a bunch of stuff happening today. So first and foremost, it's here in the morning, rush hour. I'm actually headed into the dealership for my vehicle because I'm having a dash cam installed. If you guys are unaware, which most of you probably are unaware, I actually got into a vehicle accident with my wife's Tesla a month ago or so. And I was determined to be at fault for that accident where someone kind of cut in front of me and was going to make a left-hand turn in a through lane. And so we ended up having to pay the deductible and all that fun stuff. That Tesla actually has, of course, dash cam footage. So I was able to take that dash cam footage and send it over to the insurance company, and it basically determined that the other person was at fault. So it ended up saving us our deductible. Our insurance rates are not going to go up, all because we had a dash cam. So now I'm paranoid and I want to make sure I have a dash cam in my vehicle. So that just adds to the complexity of what's going to happen today. So first and foremost, I guess not first and foremost, second and foremost, I'm reviewing a couple new hearing aids right now. I'm in the middle of it. So I'm actually reviewing the new Oticon Reveal hearing aids right now. And the second pair of hearing aids I'm reviewing, I can't tell you about because they are not announced yet. But both of those reviews are happening this weekend. I'm in the middle of it. In the meantime, I am also going to be doing an Auracast demo at the Musical Instrument Museum in North Phoenix. So really popular spot. We've been trying to get in there to do a demo of Auracast for a couple months now. We're finally at the point where we're going to go in and meet with their team and do that. I'm actually taking Dr. Jena Wingett with me for that so she can kind of see what the demo operates like. And then hopefully she'll be able to run some demos on her own if necessary. If I'm not available to go to a particular venue. She's actually, her and the rest of the audiologists on my team, they're basically taking any downtime that they have in the clinic if they're not seeing patients. Our schedules have a few open blocks on them throughout the day in the summertime, and they're taking that free time to reach out to public venues throughout the Phoenix area to see if we can get a Zoom call scheduled where we can tell them about Auracast, and then of course schedule demos of the Auracast. So I'm going to meet up with her around 12 o'clock or so, and we're going to head over to the Musical Instrument Museum. But before that happens, I actually have to go by the Scottsdale office because remember how I was trying to do the connection of Auracast on the TV in the waiting room at that new Scottsdale location? Well, that did not go so well. Apparently that TV is not capable of routing audio to Auracast and through the TV speakers at the same time. So I'm starting to learn like the pros and cons of these different, TVs that are out there and other electronic devices that are out there when it comes to Auracast. But the point is that there's an adapter that I took over to the office to try and make that work that I need for the Auracast demo, and I didn't realize it because of how I have to connect the audio into the Auracast transmitter to make that work. So once I drop off my vehicle, I've got to get a loaner vehicle, then I've got to go over to the office in Scottsdale, grab that component. I'm going to then head over to the studio again, because if you guys recall from last week, I was also not successful at getting everything set up correctly because of the issue with the Thunderbolt docking station that I need to run all of the equipment inside of the studio, because I'm prepping for the Ask Dr. Cliff show, where I'm going to be able to answer your guys' questions, give you a second opinion on what you're doing from a treatment perspective, and essentially record that and post it online so other people can learn from that as well. Think of like the Dave Ramsey show without the controversy, because apparently there's a lot of people out there who do not like Dave Ramsey, which is fine with me, but without the controversy, and it's about hearing and not finances, right? Pretty action-packed day. Once I get that done this afternoon, I'll have some time to make sure that I keep working on the reviews of these hearing aids. I want to make sure I get the Oticon review out as soon as possible, but not too soon to where I haven't had a chance to test everything on those devices. So action-packed day, like I said. I'll pick back up with you here in just a few. All right, so I just got the vehicle dropped off. I'm in this nice little Acura. It's smaller than what I'm used to, but it'll be fine. I don't have my car mount, so I'm not going to be able to record while I'm driving here. So I'm going to head over to the Scottsdale location, grab that cable, and then head over to the studio and get some stuff set up. You know, I will say that this whole Auracast thing has been a pretty big learning curve. Some of it was inherently understandable what we're trying to do with it, but hooking up the equipment and all the different accessories that use Auracast and all the different connectors that you need to use and how to integrate it with different systems, it's taken a bit for me to figure it out, and I still do not have it figured out yet, but we're making progress each and every day. I feel like I learn something new every day, and it kind of makes it exciting, so. All right, I think I know where I put that cable. Let's see. I think it's in here. Maybe I don't have that cable. Haha, I found it. What I really needed was a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack that goes to RCA cables. This isn't actually the one I was looking for, but this is one that will work. I actually stole it from an Oticon TV adapter. They still have the connections for analog audio. So crisis averted, should be ready to go for the Auracast demo at the MIM today. All right, so a couple things that I'm noticing here. I'm trying to use one of my old 4K Sony camcorders to be the webcam, just because all the other like standard webcams just don't shoot really good images from this kind of distance with this kind of lighting. So I've got to let that charge because it doesn't have enough battery, so I can't really check if the video's working on that yet. And I may or may not stick around long enough for that to charge up enough so I can use it, or test it rather. The other issue is that this is a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack for my earpiece here. I would prefer to get the audio from the person I'm talking to on the show directly into my ear so I can essentially hear it better. And so it doesn't interfere with any of the other recording stuff that I'm doing. I don't have the right adapter for that to plug into the Focusrite over here, which is essentially what connects to the audio of my system here. But that should be a pretty easy fix, but I think I'm like 95% of the way there. All I have to do now is essentially clean this all up and make it look nice, and then make sure that I get the logo up on the TV screen and keep it there for an hour to 2 hours, depending on how long these sessions go. Once I have all that, I'll be ready to rock and roll, because my Sony FX3 cameras that I use to record the Dr. Cliff show and all of that, I'm gonna use those same cameras, so I'm very familiar with how those work. And then I'll record everything kind of independently on that, and then I'll be able to get that off to my editor and get it ready to go and post on the YouTube channel. So seems like we're right there. A few more things to do though. All right, so what if I told you that I just checked my bag and I had the exact cable that I was looking for, that I drove all the way to Scottsdale for? You'd probably say that I'm an idiot. And you know what? My wife always tells me that I don't look good enough, and this is definitely one of those cases where I did not look good enough. So I wasted some time this morning, but doesn't matter. What I'm gonna do right now, I'm just gonna do a quick little check to make sure that the Ori is actually working. So I basically take a smartphone, I have some audio on it, and then I plug the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack into that. And then I can use any pair of hearing aids. I can use the Ori receiver. The Ori receiver is pretty slick. Let me get that here. I'm gonna just plug it into a pair of headphones just to do a quick check of that to make sure that I've got it connected and working. And then I have to give power to the Ori, but the power that I want to give is from a power pack, because I don't know what their power system is going to be when I go and demo this unit. So I want it to be 100% fully reliant on what I bring and nothing of the venues. I've just found it easy to use this nice big power pack. I was given this as a gift from, I can't remember what company gave it to me, but I went and did some content, maybe at a speaking event, and it was a gift that they gave me, which was really, really nice. So I use it now all the time to run these demos. But all right, so I've got power to this guy right here, and now I've got audio fed into him, and you can see I've got the light going there, and then I should be able to see on here that I have a transmission signal. There we go. And now I should be able to hear audio coming through the headset that I have plugged in, and there we go. I'm getting good audio coming from the receiver here. So that's perfect. If I were to be tapping in with a pair of hearing aids, I would see it as an option, select it, and be good to go. The only other thing that I'm gonna do is customize the setup of the Ori so it actually says MIM demo. I feel like it's just a nice little, attention to detail. So when I go in and do the demo for these different facilities, they can see the name, so they can almost kind of like envision that, oh, that's ours already. So hopefully that leads to more adoption of these Auracast units throughout the greater Phoenix area. And then if you are trying to get an Auracast transmitter installed inside of a public venue that you go to frequently, reach out to them, let them know that this technology exists. You can always point them in my direction for more information on this. And I am technically a distributor now for the Ori Auracast system. So if you're trying to find somewhere who can actually acquire an Ori to get to the public venue that you want to have it installed at, then just reach out and let me know and I can help. So many cables. All right, so the cool thing about programming this is that I can just use a regular cable like this, a CAT cable, and then a USB-C to plug into my computer, and then I can access the Ori manager from my computer to program this thing. So super easy. There we go, we are plugged in. And this is the Dante version, so it has a plugin for programming and a plugin for Dante, which is using Ethernet systems in certain public venues, usually larger venues. All right, so we're gonna go to the Ori manager. There we go, MIM demo, excellent. So you can see here now, we have MIM demo on there, so it's all been customized now for the MIM. All right, I'm also gonna take my cell phone, which is plugged in right there, so I'm not gonna do that. All right, we've got everything tested and ready to go. Now I need to go home, continue working on my hearing aid reviews, and then here in a couple hours, I'll need to head in to go do the Auracast demo. So I'll see you there. All right, so I'm headed over to the MIM. I'm actually driving Ashley's Tesla again. Hopefully I don't wreck it again, but excited to meet up with Jena, go in, kind of show them what we're doing with Auracast. All right, well, that actually went pretty well here at MIM. I'm excited. I'm walking back to my car with less weight in my bag because they are wanting to test it out at some live performances. So what I'm starting to learn here with Auracast is that every venue's a little bit different of what their current capabilities are, what they're looking for, if they have certain types of input signals or if there's other competing, systems that they're working with. The guys over here at MIM were great, like very interested in the tech. They want to make sure that they do it the right way. They don't want to rush it or anything, which I commend. I think that's going to lead to better results here with Auracast in these public venues. But, this is going to be a little bit more of a challenge than what I thought it was going to be from an Auracast perspective. And it really has to do with the amount of Auracast demo transmitters that I have. So I have one demo transmitter that I was given by ListenTech, and then I have another one that I personally purchased. And so now both of my units are being used in demos right now. So I'm probably gonna have to purchase another Auracast transmitter or another couple, because if we do a demo every 2 weeks, we'll basically get about 24 places online with Auracast. Now, if we have 2 Auracast transmitters, we can increase that, of course, but that'll be the limiter. Is I don't think we're gonna have challenges of getting places to accept demos. I think it's just going to be a limitation of how many demos do we actually have, and do they have an in-house team that know how to actually connect their audio to it. Anyway, I think that we're just well on the way of figuring out how this works, and we're going to get better and better at it and communicating that value. Right now, my homework is to find out what the latency is. I know it's a very short latency, but they want specifics, so I'm going to find out those specifics and get them passed on to them. Like I said, no recording inside the venue there today. Out of respect for them, I'm sure that they'll at some point allow us or give us approval to do some content, depending on if they decide to actually permanently install Auracast. But until then, we'll sit tight. I got back from the MIM a couple of hours ago. I've been reviewing some hearing aids, and normally I would take this little psychopath to the park at 7 o'clock. But there's a monsoon coming in, so I'm taking him a little bit earlier than normal. And then I'm gonna eat dinner, and then probably gonna go to the office for a couple hours to play around with the programming software of these hearing aids I'm playing around with today.
Come here, buddy.
What's up, buddy? All right, so we ended up staying at the park for a couple hours because it ended up not raining at all. So then all his dog friends got there and he didn't want to leave, and I kind of felt bad. I know it's late, but Ashley's not home, so I decided to bring him here to the office for me to work on my hearing aid review. So the software for this hearing aid, because it's not out yet, it's on my very back computer. So I'm gonna spend a couple hours here. What is it, about 8 o'clock right now? I'm gonna spend a couple hours doing this review and getting some other work done. And hopefully by about 10 or 11 o'clock, we'll be out of here. So yeah, here we go. All right, so it's almost 11 o'clock. It's pretty much time to go. So Grindle is pretty well sick of being here. He's starting to get restless. He was laying on my lap for a while there. All right, Grinny, you ready to go home? It's a long day, buddy. Sorry about that. All right, guys, that's it for a really long day. Let me know what you thought about it in the comment section. And as always, I'll see you guys next week.